Good morning, seniors. It's Tuesday. This is my second video, of course. This is the one that I need everybody to listen through because it has a lot to do with the end of the year plan for the rest of this semester. So a lot of that matters depending on like how good of shape your grade is in, essentially. So I want to talk about that a little bit, and these are some of the things I want to cover that I've written down so I don't forget to tell you anything. So first of all, end of the year schedule. The cover letter or the scholarship letter that you're writing should have a first draft that's due today, and that's Tuesday if you're watching this on Tuesday. The final draft is going to be due on Friday. I'm going to try to look over those on Wednesday and Thursday to give you some advice on how to build those up so that you can submit those again on Friday. So that being said, that's only that's going to be like one of the final grades, especially if you have an A. That's going to be the final grade that I'll put in, and that's going to be a small grade. It'll be a participation thing. My philosophy about these resumes is that they're far more important than a grade. So it's just a completion sort of thing. So that's not going to change your grade very much. As far as the grades go right now, moving to the second point, pretty much wherever you're at, if you don't have a lot of makeup work to do, wherever you're at is where you're going to be. There may be some discussions that we can have individually if you're missing something or if you want to redo an assignment that you didn't do very well on. Something like that might still be in the works, but generally, if you've been keeping up with everything, then the grade you have is the grade that you're going to end with, or at least very close to that, right? Like putting in that last grade there on the scholarship or the cover letter will still matter a little bit, but not by much. So that being said, just a quick reminder that students who have an A are going to get done a week from today. Students who have a B will get done next week, but on Friday, students who have a C or D will be 2 weeks from today, and students who are unfortunate enough to have an F at the moment will not get done until the 15th. Okay, so there's a serious incentive here to get things caught up and get things under control this week, and really there's no more time unless you're itching to just stick around for school for 2 extra weeks. Then let's kind of put things in gear and get things done. All right. So as far as resume grading, going down here, and let me explain where this is coming from. So I started going through resumes yesterday, looking at the final drafts you all had submitted. I got through a class and a half. I have 3 classes of seniors. I got through a class and a half, and I found one resume that I felt was good enough for an interview. And before I was a teacher, I worked in a warehouse, and I had a lot of responsibilities, and one of those responsibilities was hiring people and calling people in. So I have some experience in this. I was frustrated yesterday, okay, and I haven't read all of them yet at this point. Well, I have by now, but I didn't read all of them at that point yesterday, so I was basing that on what I'd seen at that point. So I'm sure there are others who I would call in for an interview. But it got me thinking about the resume grading. Number one, like it's not really accurate to give it like an 80% if it's not exactly doing well, right? If it's got some big problems. A resume is either pass or fail. It's you have it or you don't. It worked for you or you don't get the job, right? Or you don't get the interview at least. So the way that I'm going to do this is, again, give it a very small grade. The grade doesn't matter, but the resume itself does, and it will matter very soon, within a couple weeks to you maybe. Maybe not. Maybe you have a job and you're satisfied, but at any rate, like it's going to matter at some point to have that under control. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to kind of work that into some optional grade recovery or grade building chances, and I'll explain that here shortly. That being said, I've given everybody just a slight bit of feedback on the resumes, and if you take a look, if you've got it submitted already, that I looked at them this morning, look in your OneNote, have some feedback there. You'll still have an opportunity here with the optional grade building things that I'm getting ready to tell you to kind of revise that one more time. So one of those ways you can bring up your grade if you're interested. And if you're not and your grade's like an A and you're like, yeah, I'm good, then you don't have to worry about any of this, okay? But one of the ways that you can bring up your grade, the first thing is to do extra credit on the resume. And what I mean by that is essentially I'll look at those on Friday you can resubmit those on Friday along with your cover letter or scholarship letter final draft. So as long as you have that in ungraded work, I'll consider it for extra credit. Okay. If I feel like, from as unbiased a point of view as I can, that I would look at your resume as an entry-level worker and give you a call back for an interview, then I will give you extra credit on that. All right, that will boost up your grade. It's going to be significant. Okay, if you want that, I want it to be high stakes a little bit because we don't have room for another full project, and at the same time, I want to make sure that you understand how serious these things are. Right? It's again not like you either get the job or you don't. And so that means that if I would not call you in for an interview, then you just don't get the extra credit. Okay, it's not saying that it's going to hurt you. It won't. You just won't get the benefit of it essentially. Okay, and I'm going to be pretty strict about that, way stricter than I am with just grades in general. So it's worth your benefit to go back, follow my advice, which is one of my frustrations that I saw in the video or in the resumes where we were doing the video conferencing and some people weren't following my advice. But follow my advice. Holy Cross students especially have a tremendous amount of experience to put on something like this that hardly any other high school graduate does. You have work experience, you have internship experience, you have volunteer service, all the sorts of things that Holy Cross asks of you as a student are things that you would want to put on there. And so lots of those things were missing, things were unorganized, things were like misspelling and typos. That stuff does not fly in the real world. And so just trying to encourage that this should be taken as seriously as anything you've ever done for me, the resumes. So try to get that extra credit in. If it's in there by Friday, again, I'll look at it, give it extra credit. If it's in there Saturday morning, I'm not going to look at it. Okay, so make sure it's in there by Friday on time. The other way that you can possibly bring up your grade, if you're interested, is to recreate your project up to 10 points. Okay, so some people were, late on that. Some people just didn't score as high as they wanted to. So I'm giving you the opportunity to recreate that project, and I will give you up to an additional 10 points. Again, if you already scored like a 95 or something on it, I wouldn't mess with it because you're probably in good shape on your grade anyway. But if you scored a 55 on it, that might be something you want to consider because that project grade will really help bump you up. And my guess is 10 points, up to 10 points, would probably bump you up another letter grade or so. So that might get you into one of these areas higher than you would have right now if you just stopped turning stuff in essentially. So I encourage that, especially if that is or was a concern for you, then I will use that to bump up your grade. I'd like to see them next to each other. Okay, so that's one thing because it's been so long since we submitted those projects that I will have a hard time remembering exactly what you did on the first one. So put the first one and then the second one right next to it, the revision right next to it, so that I can see how you kind of adapted your choices for the second time around. I also know that will be a big thing to ask if you did a video or something. Hopefully you can go back to that video project and kind of take the good parts and then revise the other parts. But you do have a few days here this week to try to get things together. So again, like crunch time. I hope you didn't find yourself in this situation, but if you did, here we are, and let's get to work. And it's going to be a few busy days, but it's just something we got to do. So that being said, please let me know if you have any questions about any of this. I want to see you succeed, and I want to see you, not stick around until the 15th if you can get out earlier than that. So, please, again, let me know if you have any questions, and let me know how I can help in any way. All right, take care. Bye-bye.